Hi, I'm Gary Ford, Managing Director of Tiger Hobbies Limited, a UK importer and distributor of hobby products. Welcome to this short video about a new range of models recently arrived at Tiger Towers, the Panzerkampf Legion Range. Panzerkampf are normally quite expensive, but they've introduced the Legion range of good value models. As you can see, we have a selection of World War II fighters, a tank, and to the left the large US Navy CH-53C Stallion. On the turntable, you can see two of the North American P-51 from the range. Each fighter type comes with at least 3 versions you can buy with different squadron or aces. All the aircraft come with pilots, optional undercarriage, underwing stores where applicable, and a stand for flight mode. The P-51B was the first production of the P-51 Mustang with the Merlin engine, capable of speeds of almost 440 mph and a massive range. Check out our Strategic Bombing Series episode 5 and I will leave a link for more information on the development of the Mustang. Here we have 2 aircraft to demonstrate the options of the model, either on its undercarriage and the famous P-51B Ding Ho flown by Major James Howard in flight mode on its stand. The next aircraft will be the Supermarine Spitfire, so let me just replace the models. As you can see on the table now, or turntable, is the Supermarine Spitfire Mark 5B. You can tell the 5Bs from the very early ones by the 2 20mm cannons poking out the wings. It was also the most produced of the Spitfire variants, I think almost 7,000 produced. And in this case, it's a Spitfire VB RFD Donald Duck of 303 Squadron, flown by famous Polish RAF ace Jan Zumbak, who scored 12 victories during the war. This model carries its duck emblem plus Zumbak's victories, plus the famous Polish emblem just forward of the, or just behind the propeller. Other squadrons you can buy with the Spitfire are 234 Squadron, 402 Squadron, and an Air Fighting Development Squadron, or Air Fighting Development Squadron, but this time actually you get a Spitfire 2A. So, the next on the turntable will be the Butcherbird, the Focke-Wulf 190. As you can see, we've got the Focke-Wulf 190, this time of Jagdgeschwader 2, flown by pilot Hans Hahn in 1942 at the height of the Butcherbird scourge for the Royal Air Force fighter units over France from 41 to 1942. In August 1941, reports of a new fighter with a radial engine outperforming the Spitfires were being reported to RAF intelligence. Some of this was brushed aside, but more and more Spitfire fires were not coming back. For almost a year, the RAF struggled over France on fighter sweeps, losing many famous RAF pilots. The Focke-Wulf, not Focke-Wulf as some people like to say, was designed by German aircraft designer Kurt Tank, was fast, had an incredible roll rate and climb rate. The Royal Air Force for almost a year had to change tactics to lower levels where the Spitfire 5B could hold its own. The RAF then got a Spitfire 5 and fitted it as a temporary measure with a Merlin 61 engine, calling it the Mark 9, as the actual replacement aircraft, the Spitfire Mark 8, would not be ready for a good while. In June 1942, a German pilot landed by mistake at Pembrey in Wales, and soon the aircraft was being tested by the RAF and found the new Mark 9 was superior in speed, climb and altitude, and only in roll rate was it inferior. In fact, some Spitfire Mark 5Bs and Mark 9s had their wings clipped to improve roll rate at lower altitudes. The next on the table is the Curtiss P40. As you can see on the table now, the Curtiss P40C, or its export version, in this case the Curtiss 81A-2. This model comes in the markings of the Chinese Air Force American Volunteer Group, or AVG, better known as the Flying Tigers. The model comes in the markings of AVG Ace Texel and truly captures the stance of this workmanlike aircraft that held the line for the US forces, or certainly United States Army Air Forces, in the Pacific in the early part of World War II. In Royal Air Force and Commonwealth service, it was known as the Tomahawk, and in US service, in any mark, as the Warhawk. Later versions, like the P-40E, were known by the RAF as Kitty Hawks. The P-40 was to the United States Army Air Force as the Hurricane was to the Royal Air Force, somewhat overshadowed by aircraft like the Mustang and the Spitfire. But like the Hurricane, it held the line, especially in the Middle and Far East during the early part of the Second World War, with many pilots becoming aces and scoring reasonable numbers. The next model on the table will be the Transvort Corsair. As you can see, the next model that's appeared on the turntable is the Transvort F4U Corsair. In this case, a later version used in the Korean War, better known as the F4U-4, with its massive four-bladed prop. Known, unfortunately, by its nickname, the Bent Wing Bastard from Connecticut, due to its crank wings, as you can clearly see on the model. The model is well equipped with massive fuel tanks and rockets, and like all others, you can either have it on its stand, as we're displaying now, or have it on its undercarriage. Entering service with the United States Marine Corps in 1942, and not until late 1944 or even early 45 on carriers for the US Navy, due to the difficulty landing, as you can see with its massive long nose. The Corsair was fast, in fact, the first 400 mile an hour single seat fighter in US service, and it dominated the Pacific with the F6F Hellcat. In fact, it was the Royal Navy's Fleet Air Arm who eventually tamed this beast for carrier operations in April 1944. Due to its massive power and speed and its ability to carry a huge amount of ordnance, it was ground support that found its strength with the F4U Corsair, leaving the Hellcat to combat the Japanese fighters. It also remained in service, again due to its capability to carry vast amounts of ordnance, well into the late 50s with the US Navy, in fact obviously right through the Korean War, and in some cases with South American Air Forces until the mid-1980s. So, the next on the turntable will actually be a 1/72 scale little tank. As you can see on the turntable now, is a 1/72 scale Sherman Firefly 1C. Just be a little careful when buying these on eBay, because some retailers, because of the description on some of the packaging is not clear, they're selling them on eBay as Firefly VCs. But as you can see on the camera, I'm not sure if you can see it, but just under the back of the turret bustle, there's like a lip that runs around the back end or the upper part of the engine deck. Now, there are only 3 marks of Sherman with this lip. That's the Sherman M4A1, the original Sherman, the M4, the simplified version of the M4A1, and the M4 Composite. And this particular model is clearly seen with the lip just at under the rear bustle of the rear part, the upper part of the hull. So this is a Firefly 1C. The British also used the M4 Composite as the Firefly Hybrid, and the more famous Firefly VC that was built on the M4A4 that had a slightly kind of longer chassis. This tank is great value at only $18.99 retail, and it's quite heavy with a full die-cast hull. I think the turret's plastic, and captures well the Sherman 1C Firefly. Those into wargaming in 20mm, these are ideal to buy to build a tank or two, all ready for use, and not much more than a plastic kit of the same vehicle. So let's look at another model that you can see to the left. I might have to pull the turntable slightly out because it's a massive model. There you go, that should do it. Here we can see, also part of the Legion range, but a little more expensive. So the fighters you can see in the background are all $29.99, the World War II fighters, and the little tank's just $18.99, little 72nd scale tank. So this is the massive 1/72nd scale Sikorsky CH-53 Sea Stallion from the United States Navy. In fact, we have a number of versions for sale, both US Navy and US Marines, at $69.99. As you can see, it's an impressive model with a huge rotor blade to capture the sheer size of this aircraft. It entered service in its very early guises as the HH-3 in Vietnam as the Jolly Green Giant in the 1960s, and was developed into the HH-53 Super Green Giant and later as MH-53, with the US Navy as the CH-53 Sea Stallion. These massive single rotor helicopters have been in service for almost 60 years and should have been replaced by the V-22 Osprey, but continuing faults with the V-22 mean these old war horses will have to soldier on for a few more years. The model looks impressive and is one of the largest model helicopters you can buy in diecast in 1/72nd scale. We've also in the range the Western Sea Kings for the Royal Navy Fleet Air Arm, but we're out of stock at the moment, but they should be coming back quite soon. So thank you for taking time to watch this short video about Panzerkampf Legion Range of 1/72nd scale aircraft, helicopters and tanks. If you're interested, please visit our site at www.tigerhobbies.co.uk and look for Panzerkampf. Also, if you're a hobby trader and wish to stock Tiger Hobbies' large range of hobby products, please use the trade contact on our website. We're always looking for more hobby stores, both bricks and mortar and online, to retail our products. Once again, thank you very much.